Hello everyone, welcome to Two Guys and a Mouse, the show that gives you all the Disney news, tips, and tricks to get you the most out of your Disney vacation. I'm Lance and I'm here with Les, and we're going to finish talking about the Disney Food and Wine Festival at Epcot coming up next. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to finish up our discussion on the Epcot Food and Wine Festival. And if you haven't caught any of the previous episodes, I'll put the link to the playlist up here so you guys can check that out. So Les, Epcot Food and Wine 2021. I know you mentioned that it's, food booths and, alcoholic beverages, non-alcoholic beverages, portion sizes and varying price ranges and all kinds of stuff. Does the festival have anything, say, special events? Now, I know, granted, being 2021 and at the time of recording, we're still amid the pandemic. However, I know in the past there's been, as you mentioned, celebrity chef cook-offs and meet and greets and things like wine pairings, beer pairings, etc., etc. What do we have to look forward to in 2021 and beyond, if they do bring these things back? Could you tell us a little more about the special events?
Yeah, so it's like you just said, they typically have like a huge pavilion or a huge tent. Now, Epcot itself, the park, is in flux right now because it's currently lots and lots of construction going on. They were doing construction in preparation for the 50th anniversary. Unfortunately, with the pandemic, it threw a lot of those timelines off, so some of the projects won't be done for the 50th anniversary of Walt Disney World. But the projects are moving forward. Still a lot of construction going on as they try and wrap things up. So how it's going to be this year, I'm not quite sure. I can definitely report on that when I'm there. But in the past, they've had either inside one of the larger buildings, or I know for the Flower and Garden Festival this past spring, they had a huge tent that was lined with tables and bars, and there were food options in there. So typically that's what they have. They either have a building or a big tent, and that's kind of where they have a lot of the different events, some of it which requires an extra ticket, or you have to pay admission into some of those special events. Unfortunately, a lot of those aren't occurring this year. Hopefully, the world gets this pandemic under control and it goes back to the way that it used to be next year, which would be great, because there's a lot of different things going on that unfortunately have been cut out this year. Besides those types of special events where you're meeting the chefs or you're doing pairings, they used to have what was called Eat to the Beat. So at the World Showcase, pretty much directly in front of the American Pavilion, is a huge stadium style, I don't want to call it an arena, but it's an amphitheater. So it's an outdoor amphitheater with stadium-style seating. And what they have had in the past, pre-pandemic, was almost every night or every night of the week, they would have musical acts perform on the stage. And these are big-name acts that you know and love and hear on the radio every day. Famous musicians and groups that would come in and do one show, and then they're gone. That's it. If you miss them, you're not going to see them again, because the next night is now another big name act. So unfortunately, that was cut out last year. It didn't make a return this year, which I'm really sad about, but hopefully it comes back for 2022. They didn't cut out entertainment entirely. You're just not going to get those name brand acts, right? So basically what they're going to have is there's a mariachi band that plays. If it's the same one that was there during the Flower and Garden Festival, they were fantastic. I don't remember how many members in this band there were, but they had the whole stage covered with different people, and they sounded awesome. There's the Voices of Liberty. They were definitely there during the Flower and Garden Festival this spring. They do all kinds of hits that you know. They sounded fantastic as well. And then basically Friday through Monday nights or afternoons and nights, they're going to supplement those two acts with local bands. So there'll still be entertainment. You're just not going to get those acts that you hear on the radio. And so what are you going to do? You know, unfortunately, it is what it is for this year. Hopefully it's back for next year.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you something. Does the do they put the regular entertainment on hold during Food and Wine to bring out the special entertainment, or are all the regular acts still playing? Like, I think in Canada they have the guys that do the oil drum beat stuff. That's pretty cool if you haven't seen that.
Yeah, the Jammers. So
Yeah,
they're going to
yeah.
be there too. They were
Okay.
there. We saw them perform actually a couple times during Flower and Garden Festival. So yeah, some of the regular acts that you may know and love are still going to be there. Absolutely.
That's very cool. So what are some of your favorite like special events that you've done in the past? You know, what would you consider, you know, top of the list for our viewers to check out?
I really loved Eat to the Beat. I haven't done any of the extra paid like food pairings or the working with the chefs or meet the chefs or watch them cook in front of you. It's something I would definitely like to do in the future. It's on the bucket list, just not anything that I've really taken advantage of yet. But the Eat to the Beat, I was really looking forward to that this year. I had heard rumors of musical acts that they already had lined up to play. Some of those musical acts actually let it slip when they weren't supposed to, that they were playing at Eat to the Beat. But then once Disney decided that they weren't going to have that because of the pandemic, you know, that all went by the wayside. So in the past, we happened to be there during Food and Wine, and 38 Special was actually the act that was on
Oh
the
wow.
stage that night. So we grabbed some food around the America Pavilion, and we actually sat there and listened for a while, and it was fantastic. So it's part of the reason why I was looking forward to it. You know, not that I was going to see them again, but that you'd basically see some famous musical acts. So and we plan on spending. So I'll be going in October, and really looking forward to it. And I know that we'll be spending quite a lot of time in Epcot. So it's again just a little disappointing that that's not going to be one of the things that I can look forward to this year. So
Gotcha. Now let me ask you a question. So I know in a previous video we've discussed portion sizes. I never did ask you about, you know, the quality of the food at Food and Wine. How is it? Because, you know, I know that for the normal Disney food, it's top quality. You know, the normal World Showcase dining, you know, venues, you know, whether it's the Japan Pavilion, the China Pavilion, Mexico, you know, those restaurants, all top quality food anywhere in the park, really, in Disney. How is it compared to, say, your regular dining accommodations? Is it just as good? Would you say that it suffers in quality from being a smaller, like a tent, you know, and do they cook it in the tent? Like, how does that work?
yeah, I think when you do it how they're doing it, you know, you can run the risk of the quality not being there, because some of it is prepared right on site in the booths. And but in my personal experience of having been there several times, honestly, I've never had a problem with the food. I mean, it's going to be basically the same food that they're serving in the restaurant, again, just in a smaller portion size, right? So I personally haven't noticed that the food experience has been degraded in any way, but definitely is something, you know, that could happen. You know, never say never, and I don't like to think about it that way, but I've never had an issue. So
Okay. Well, that's good to know. You know, for our viewers who haven't been there and they were just kind of questioning the quality of the food, you know, I know that sometimes, you know, you go to the Allentown Fair, for example, or Mayfair, or, you know, Music Fest, you know, and you get, say, XYZ restaurant from Allentown that is known for good food, and you get them in the booth situation, and it's not prepared on site, and it's prepared off site, and catered or curried over. Sometimes it's not the same, but I understand. But if it,
Yeah, I
I
mean,
would expect it to be Disney quality.
exactly, and that's just what I was gonna say. Disney is not buying low quality food by any means whatsoever. They are buying high quality food. Their cast members that are cooking the food are highly trained, take pride in their work, and like I've said in a previous episode, I very rarely ever have a food complaint. Maybe I may not like the service from a particular cast member who's our waiter or waitress, but the food has always been top notch. So, and that carries over into Food and Wine Festival for sure.
Gotcha. Which segues me nicely into our next topic of, what are some of your favorites as far as, booths, food selections, what can you steer our viewers to try? Like, what are some of your must-haves when you go to a Food and Wine Festival?
Yeah, so I kind of alluded to this if you didn't pick up on it in the previous episode, and for sure, Canada is for me at the top of my list. And everybody's gonna be different. Everybody's gonna like that particular kind of food or style of food, or from a certain country maybe. But for me, it's Canada at Food and Wine Festival. I love the filet from the sit-down restaurant Le Cellier. You can get a little slice of that heaven at the food cart out front. Now, I thought that the price on that was around $15 based on what I saw on the My Disney Experience app. I think it's actually a little cheaper than that, which is great. And the other thing that's extremely popular, and for some people maybe more popular than that piece of filet, is their cheddar cheese and bacon soup. Again, which is also served in the restaurant, but you can get a small cup of it outside for, I think it's around $6 or so. Both fantastic. Probably second to that, I would say I had the roasted lamb chop with sweet potato puree from the Australia marketplace previously. Fantastic. That was so good on the bone. It was like a little kid nibbling on the bone, trying to get off every little last piece of meat. It's a little pathetic, but kind of funny at the same time. But yeah, so good. And then for drink, favorite from the last time I was there, which was 2018. Definitely the Oktoberfest at the Germany Pavilion. Now looking at what the beers are that they have for this year, I didn't see Oktoberfest on the list, which is makes me a little sad. But they have a Schofferhofer beer that I'm looking forward to trying.
Have you never tried it yet?
No, because when I visited Epcot at the Flower and Garden Festival this year, they had Schofferhofer grapefruit, which is not what they have at the Food and Wine. It is actually a different Schofferhofer.
Okay.
So,
yeah, the Schofferhofer grapefruit is one of my favorite Disney beers. I get it every time I go down. I get it if I can find it somewhere up here. I get it. I don't get it all often because it's a special treat. But every time I go down to Disney, I'll get Schofferhofer, and it's so good, so good.
Yeah, I was hooked on it after we came home from Disney, to the point that I actually went and found where it was being sold locally and bought many cases.
Yeah, so good, so good.
Very good. Yep.
Yeah, which speaking of beer and wine portion of the Food and Wine Festival, let's talk about some of the alcoholic fare that they have, and as far as is this right for a Drinking Around the World challenge, which I personally have done and succeeded in, mind you. You can catch the video here if you want to check that out on my other channel. But yeah, and that's not gonna lie to you, it was tough to do. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about Drinking Around the World. Do you think Food and Wine is right for that, or should we save that for another another day? Do you think? Well, I mean, what I mean to say is, do you want to try to attempt that at Food and Wine? Drinking and eating, or what are your
Well,
thoughts?
if you eat a lot, you're definitely going to have a lot in your stomach if you decide to take on the Drink Around the World challenge. So, for those of you that don't really know what it is, so there's, correct me if I'm wrong, there's 11 countries that are in the World Showcase, and those are the ones that are there year-round, 365. So every country, there's obviously a place to eat and a place to drink. So the challenge is that over the course of one visit, you will get a different drink from each of those 11 countries. And some people turn it into, it's a challenge, but they'll try and make a game out of it, or make it fun, right? So I've seen people walking around with t-shirts that basically say Drinking Around the World Challenge. They'll have all the countries listed on the back with maybe like a checkbox, and then they'll carry a marker, and they'll have one of the cast members check off their country as they get a drink from that country, and they hit all 11, and all the check boxes are checked. Some of the people will use like a lanyard with a card on it.
I was just going to say,
which I think
when I did
one
it,
of your ideas.
Yep, that when I did it, we had these backstage pass lanyards, and we had gotten these, cards, 3x5 cards, and it was printed every country around the world with little check boxes and a place to put what drink we had, and we had our Disney, we were using the pin trading lanyards to hold the cards. We had our Mickey pens. Every time we'd go, we'd stop, we'd write down where we went, write the beer down or the drink. Wasn't always beer, but it was very, very, it was tough. I'm not gonna lie, it was tough. But I did complete it. So, some people don't.
Yeah, during
though.
Food
Some
and
people
Wine,
don't.
actually, to answer your question, may not be a bad time to do it, because with these marketplaces that are offering food and drinks, a lot of these drinks may have two different sizes, right? They may be like the beers at Germany, as an example. They have a 5-ounce glass, and they have, they have a 6-ounce glass, and they have a 12-ounce glass, right? So if you want to do it during Food and Wine, certainly take advantage of maybe those smaller portions, so you're not drinking as much. If you're going to do it, good luck. And my advice to you would be start early, finish late, pace yourself, drink lots and lots of water in between, stay hydrated.
Have you done it? Have you attempted it at all, or?
I have attempted it, and I won't say I'm ashamed, but I will say that I didn't finish it. But there's always this upcoming trip to try it again. So.
Yeah, for sure. I have done it. I have completed it. It's tough. When I did it, we started it, 11 o'clock is when Epcot opens. And we started it just after lunch, so I think 1 o'clock. And we started in Canada, knowing that we had dinner reservations in Japan right around 5, 6 o'clock. So we made our way through, we started doing it. And I think what really helped me out was I did take that break for dinner halfway through. Although I didn't really stop drinking, because at dinner, we ate dinner in Japan, and I was drinking sake, so,
Yeah.
But it didn't help much, but the food helped. The food for sure helped.
Yeah, definitely.
Halfway through.
Definitely food and water. And to wrap it up, Disney is changing the hours at all the parks. So I don't know if it's started yet. If it hasn't, it will over very soon. They're actually going to have Epcot open from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. So you'll have pretty much the whole day to try and take on that challenge. So.
And now, is that for regular guests, or is that just for the on property, people staying on property in the deluxe resorts, or is that just everybody across the board, 10 to 10?
No, that's everybody across the board. Yeah. That was a different announcement that we haven't addressed. They are changing hours for deluxe resort and DVC guests. It's a topic for another discussion. But yeah, every day park hours, once they change, will be 10 to 10 for the general public.
Wow. So let's talk plan of attack. What would you recommend to our viewers if you're going to do this for the first time, taking drinking around the world off the table? What for a novice who's never been there? Let's break it down for them and kind of give them some tips and some tricks on how to do their first food and wine to make it the best experience for them.
All right, so plan of attack, if you only got one day in the park, and I know families that they have 4 days at Walt Disney World and they do one park a day, right? So if you got only one day to tackle this, then I suggest you get there when it opens, and I suggest that you leave when they close or they kick you out. So that way you can maximize your experience ability to try and make it through as many of the countries and the booths as you possibly can. Again, not all booths are in the World Showcase. There are a few that basically are on the way walking to the World Showcase, so they're not like way out of the way. But to
Like
get
in that area between Future World and the World Showcase, that like weird area. Is that what you're talking about?
yes, yeah. So walking from the area where the fountain used to be, for those who know what I'm talking about in the park. There's a bridge that you cross over some water, and along the side of that there is an area where there are booths there. So there's a debate on which way you go when you get to the World Showcase, because when you get over there, you basically have to make a left or a right. And some people say that you have to go to the left and start with Mexico, and others say that you have to go to the right and start with Canada. I personally don't have a preference. To me, it doesn't matter. You're just basically going in a big circle anyway, so it doesn't matter where you start because you're going to come right back around anyway. Now, if you got multiple days that you can spend in Epcot, that's probably my choice. That's what I do. I spend at a minimum 2 days in Epcot every time that I go. And during Food and Wine Festival, usually what happens with us is, even if we're in another park, so I also typically spend 2 days at Magic Kingdom, and probably about halfway through the day as we approach dinner time on the second day at Magic Kingdom, we usually will leave and we'll park hop over to Epcot and grab dinner over there if we don't have a dining reservation somewhere already. So park hopping, we talked about that a little bit before. It's basically you pay a little bit extra for your ticket. It gives you the ability to visit multiple parks in one day. So like I just explained, maybe I go to Magic Kingdom for the first half of the day. Now it's food and wine, and I want to go grab some dinner at Epcot. At any point after 2 p.m., I can then leave Magic Kingdom and head over to Epcot, and then they let me right in. So I don't even need a park reservation for that. I just need a park reservation for my first park, which would have been Magic Kingdom. So yeah, typically I spend a lot of time at Epcot during food and wine. I do park hop over there, which I didn't used to do. And I don't necessarily do outside of food and wine, but definitely during food and wine, I'm spending a lot of time there.
Cool. All right. Well, so I mean, that's a lot of information. I'm sure that our visitors and our viewers are gonna have to rewatch this a couple of times just to kind of soak it all in. But let's recap a little bit. So, as far as general Disney planning, you want to make sure that you're planning ahead, planning early, and getting as much information as possible. Again, I like to book my stuff 360 days out, less you're doing it at the 11-month mark being a DVC member. Know before you go and know what you want to do when you get there. If you're planning it around food and wine, know that that's going to be going on during your trip. Same as Boo Bash or the Very Merry or Flower and Garden, whatever the special event is. Know about it before you go and plan around it. Expect the crowd levels to be different than if there wasn't going to be an event. Next, figure out how you're going to get there. Are you going to fly? Are you traveling with small children? Is economy versus convenience going to play a factor? we talked about that a little bit in one of our earlier episodes. We can go into it in another episode if if the demand is there. Please in the comments let us know, what you want to know about and want to hear. So, yeah, all kinds of different options to get down to Disney, and then also know about your different transportation options for getting around the resort. If you do have a personally owned vehicle, then are you going to take that to the parks? Because being a resort guest, if you're staying on property, does get you the free parking. Um, um,
Yeah, and things are constantly changing, right? So if
yeah,
you're watching
yeah,
these videos and you're taking what we say into account, I can't stress enough that Disney is constantly changing things that are going on. New things are opening all the time. Restaurants or activities or features that maybe were closed all this time because of the pandemic. Disney's been reopening a lot, especially lately. They're making big news announcements almost on a weekly and sometimes daily
yeah,
basis.
for sure.
Like Lance said, go before you know. All this information is on their website. You can't go wrong with just simply visiting the Disney website and reading everything that there is to read on their site. They'll tell you exactly what to expect, how things are working. You need a mask, you don't need a mask, right? Because things like that with the pandemic, as we record this, are still in flux. So, and at the time that we're recording this, and at the time of the year that the Food and Wine Festival is going on, it's hurricane season. So there's already been a few storms that have rolled very close to Walt Disney World properties, right? So, and hurricane season basically goes through the whole Food and Wine Festival. So if you're thinking about going, be aware of the weather. Be prepared for the weather to take a turn for the worst while you're there. It is Florida after all. There's a chance it's going to rain every single day, so be prepared for that. And don't get upset if it does, because typically if a storm comes in, it's usually gone in 10, 15, 20 minutes, and then the sun comes back out. That's the norm there. So don't be surprised when it happens. But it is hurricane season. Just be cognizant of the weather. Be cognizant of what's going on with storms, in the Atlantic, and is it going to hit Florida or not? So, but there's so much information out there, and we'll do our best to give you as much information as we can through all our various social media accounts and our YouTube videos. So.
Absolutely. And, as Les said, we are on social media. We're on Facebook. So, guys, if you have questions outside of these videos, please, comment below and let us know what you want to know. We'll do our best to get back to you. Find us on Facebook. Follow us on Facebook and message us. The more you know, the better off you're going to be. And, pick our brains. We've been doing this a long time. And, there's... I'm still learning stuff. Les is still learning stuff. But, if you're brand new, talk to people who have done it before. They can steer you in the right direction. I'll never steer you wrong. So, find us on Facebook. Follow us on Facebook. And, we'll put our social media links up here. But, yeah, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. And, guys, that's it for Food and Wine. Next season, we're going to talk about the 50th anniversary celebration at Walt Disney World, go into a little bit of the history of the resort and the parks. And again, make sure you're subscribed and notifications are turned on so you know when that content is released. Again, my name's Lance and Les, and we are Two Guys and a Mouse. We will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching, guys.